I thought I would let you know that your relationship with me is over.
Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Faiven.
And welcome to Let's Talk About It.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, we want to hear from you, so comment below during the video.
Today we are talking about quitting. I know this is usually a resolution season for most of us, but sometimes quitting can be just as impactful as starting something new.
I totally agree, and I have quit my fair share of things and I'm ready to defend myself. So let's talk about it. But first, rapid fire.
The last time I quit something was
May 2024. Drinking and using olive oil.
Interested to know more about the olive oil.
Have you ever walked off of a job?
Yes, I have. A strip club, actually. We will dive in, don't worry. True or false? Quitting is the same as giving up.
False. What's a popular hobby or activity you did only because everyone else did it?
Basketball.
Oh, just because you're tall?
Yeah. Have you ever regretted anything that you walked away from?
No regrets.
Never?
Even my high school yearbook quote was, never regret anything you did because at one point it was exactly what you wanted. Wise beyond my years. What's a lesson you learned from your partying days?
Don't do drugs.
Should have asked her the regrets question.
What advice would you give to someone thinking about quitting their job?
I would tell them to make a pros and cons list.
Okay, very practical advice.
Yeah, and take a look at their bank account.
Before you quit, right?
Yeah. Would you rather drink black coffee or eat unseasoned food?
Black coffee, please, all day. Nothing worse than a bland meal. How do you feel about the phrase, once a quitter, always a quitter?
I was just thinking, is that a phrase? I thought it was once a cheater, always a cheater. Is it a quitting one?
That's what my coach told me.
Coach lied to you.
Is that not a phrase?
Okay, I don't think is that a phrase? A good habit I want to add to my routine is
waking up early by choice. It's different when it's the kids or the day or the birds. So the last thing that I quit was drinking. What about you?
I think that also might be the same as me, except I didn't quit cold turkey like you did. I quit regularly socially drinking. Every time I would socialize, it would be drinking. Like, oh, let's meet at a bar, or let's go to a show. Or if you go to a show, you go to the bar first and you get your drink. Then you sit in your seat to watch the show. It is just so ingrained in our culture. But when I decided to start my fitness journey last year, I realized how many calories were in alcohol. I realized alcohol doesn't serve my life at all. I don't need it to be social. I'm already extroverted around people. It's just, liquid calories instead of just, I'd rather eat like a brownie. Like, you don't have to cut anything out. Like, I'd rather eat food, like good food, than just like drink it away. And then it wastes the whole next day. So drinking is definitely up there with something I quit recently.
Yeah, same. What was the catalyst for me? I went through a lot of denial, like years of denial, and I think, most people tell themselves, like, oh, if I could stop anytime if I wanted to, I just don't want to stop yet. And for me, that was a lie, because I realized that it was getting out of hand. I was drinking too much. The amount that I needed to feel the same way was just increasing. And to your point, we are in a society where you just drink all the time, for good news, for bad news, for a good day, for just for everything, right? And so most recently I was using it to cope when my mom passed, which wasn't good, and then I was layering on the guilt of, oh, she wouldn't want you to do this either, and she wouldn't. But what I will say is what felt really good about quitting this time was that when we conceived baby number 3, I didn't have to count on my fingers or do the math or, oh no, by this standards, that means that, oh crap, remember that night? Oh, we were drinking heavy. I didn't have to go back, and there was just no anxiety about how much I drank at the time of conception. I know that this was a byproduct of sober, healthy love, and that feels good.
Yeah, that's super awesome. I wish the tides could change in society, that drinking is not drinking is more normal, because if I tell someone I'm not drinking, they're like so concerned that like doesn't mean I've had a wild backstory or history with alcohol. I'm like, I can't just not drink. You know what I mean? It's not normalized yet.
Yeah.
That someone's like, yeah, actually no, I don't want a sugary cocktail.
Yeah.
I don't want this glass of wine. I like the way this pasta tastes without having the red wine on my tongue right before it.
I'll get an occasional mocktail sometimes. Sometimes it does feel nice just to kind of hold something in your hand, because you just don't know what to do with your hands when you're out and about. But even then, it's like, okay, I am paying $16 for some fancy juice. Like at this point, just give me some bubbly water and let's call it a day.
High key, that's my hack. So Topo Chico is my favorite. Oh yes, I know, you know. It be the most fizzy, just crispy, sparkling water on the market. Topo Chico.
It stays like that all night too.
Overnight. If you have it on your nightstand, the next morning you take a swig, just as bubbly and refreshing as when you first opened it. I need to stop doing free commercials.
Right, because you did the book that one time.
I did.
Now we're doing water promo.
I did. As an actor, my main thing is commercials. And as you can see, I turn everything into a commercial.
She gonna get the bag one way or another.
Period. But yeah, no, I would order a seltzer with lime, and it's like the same vibe as like a vodka soda, because at the end of the day, they don't even put enough alcohol to really do anything half the time. So if I get a vodka soda for $16, it's just, I'm not getting drunk, I'm not getting lit off of that. And then people who drink and you want to get a little lit, then you need like multiple. It's just the math ain't mathin' for me.
Yeah.
I still have fun, and I can sleep well that night, and then wake up early the next day and carpe diem. So yeah, that was a big thing.
Yeah, and it also feels really good as a parent, because I mean, and every kid is different, you know, but my kid, my oldest at least, is very much, well, you did it, you know, so I can understand now why as parents sometimes you don't share things with your kids, because your kids don't learn from the stories you're telling them. They instead weaponize the story and go, well, if you did it and you turned out fine, I can do it too. And so to be able to say, not even to say, to be able to show my daughter, like, look, I am out socializing, I am having fun, we are at this family function, and I don't need a drink in my hand, I think is really important behavior to model, because kids don't necessarily do what you say, they do what you do. And before I know it, she's going to be 21. Hopefully she's not drinking before then. But I want her to be just responsible. You know, I want her to be a responsible adult, and I need to model that for that to happen.
You know good and well she's going to drink before 21.
But I hope that she doesn't. I can hope.
Keep hope alive. I was drinking at 15. Also, my mom didn't drink, so this whole reverse
let me just
psychology.
Hold on to my hope. I need it.
Yeah.
I'm
In
not
fact, you want to know how I weaponized my mom not drinking?
Oh gosh.
I said I can get lit and come home after the party, and she won't even know what she's looking at because she never been drunk before.
Oh.
So I'm like, hey mom, just gonna go pee, and just go upstairs, just hammered.
I'm not going to share the age that I had my first drink, but bless my mother's heart. I came home one day and she said to my dad, she's like, oh no, our baby has heat poisoning. She's been playing in the sun too long.
Oh.
Yep. Heat poisoning.
Bless them. But another thing I quit, I had said in the rapid fire, is olive oil.
Isn't olive oil good for you?
Yes. But I didn't know 1 tablespoon was 120 calories. And in order to lose over 25 pounds, I was like, oh, I have to cut calories. So I started looking at the back of everything. And I was like, wait, you mean this much olive oil is over 100 calories, when to have a significant fat loss, all you need is to cut a couple hundred calories a day. I was like, let me just stop doing this of olive oil on every pan and on top of every salad and on top of everything. And I was like, literally didn't really have to change my lifestyle outside of just remove olive oil.
So what oil are you replacing it with?
Nothing.
How are you cooking?
Here's the thing, this is how they get you. I'm gonna sound like a conspiracy theorist, but all these fancy cookware pans that we have, the non-stick this, non-stick that, my chicken don't stick. I just put the chicken down. Guess what? The water starts coming out, then it starts getting all nice, and then it gets all cooked, all seared, all good, and I just flip it over, done and done. I swear I've never had an issue.
So you're just not using any butter or oil anymore?
Correct. All you gotta do is season your meat like normal and put it in it has to be a nice non-stick pan. You can't have one of them dollar store pans and then the whole thing is all burnt and crazy. But like if you have good non-stick products, you literally don't need. You so mad.
Because
She's so mad.
I'm gonna come over for some butterless, oilless chicken, and I'll be the judge.
I've probably fed you this before.
I don't think so. You weren't on this journey when I was there.
Try it. Make your chicken the regular way and just omit oil.
Anyway,
I'm snatched. So I be eating and I'm snatched. And I just take away the hidden calories, like what's in alcohol and what's in olive oil.
All right, well, I'm glad that's working for you.
Why, thank you. Mm-hmm. She's horrified.
I'm terrified, yes.
But it's been so long since I've drank regularly and since I've lathered everything in olive oil that it's a habit now. And I learned a lot about habits and habit stacking. I read this book last year called Atomic Habits, and I was hyped to see that a lot of my behaviors were affirmed in this is how you create a good habit.
Like what?
So say the concept of habit stacking in itself is, if you want to start a new habit, like wake up early or whatever, make the bed or not use olive oil, you just add it on to something you're already doing.
Okay.
So if you're like, I really wish I could start my morning every day with a made bed, they say that's what the millionaires do or whatever, right? So you just add it on to, well, I brew my coffee every morning, so while that's percolating, let me run back in the room and then make the bed, and by the time I come back out, the coffee's done. Like stuff like that. You add it to what's already happening. That's how I always got my dishes done. I'm like, okay, I'm cooking anyway, so of course I have to chop things, of course I have to saute things, but while I'm waiting for something to boil or while I'm waiting for something to saute, I'm like, okay, let me look around and try to clean at the same time that I'm cooking. So by the time I'm done cooking, I'm like, counters are clean. So I stacked the habits together. And I just did that with everything in my life. Mm-hmm. And this book, Atomic Habits, just like maps all that out. Mm-hmm. And they also have sections on how to break bad habits.
Okay.
It's all about associating, and it's all the psychology stuff that I wish they taught us in school. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I took an elective of like psychology 101, but they didn't get into like the nitty gritty of like adulting. Mm-hmm. How about you with like, is there any habits that you had to quit? And why?
I think a lot of things that I had to quit to better myself were more centered around like my thought process, how I viewed my self-worth. Like I grew up hearing, once a quitter, always a quitter. Like I know that I've heard that with cheating too, but like I had a track coach that, I forget the context, but he just was trying to encourage me. And I was like, oh no, maybe I'll start that again next year. And he was like, no, you're not going to stop, because if you stop, then you're going to continue to stop. Once a quitter, always a quitter. And I was like, okay, I'll keep doing track or whatever.
Comment below if that's a phrase.
I think it is. I think knowing that at such an early age, like I always felt like just this crazy amount of guilt for anything that I quit. I had to see things through, big or small. Like I don't even quit movies. Like Joe will be like, you know, this is going nowhere. Like the writing sucks. He did it. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, this isn't going to end well. And I'm like 3 seasons in, like still hoping for better. But I attach so much of my worth and my esteem to seeing things through, when sometimes the wise decision is to call a spade and say, hey, let me save my time here, let me save my resources, and just know that this is going nowhere.
See, time is the only resource that's not renewable. You cannot get your time back. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you won't quit something, ooh, child.
But this is why when I did walk off from a job one time, I was so proud of myself, because I do struggle to quit. I viewed, I'm unlearning, quitting as like a personal failure. But I worked at a strip club once, and I don't know if I shared this story with you. I wasn't a stripper, but Your body, your choice, sis. I was like, I can make just as much money serving the drinks. Number one, no. Like, titties are always going to make more money than drinks, you know? But in my mind, I was just like, I can be like in the proximity of these men that want to give out their money, but I'll just have to do less. And the environment of this particular establishment was so cringy, it was so catty, it was so competitive. They keep it really cold in there because, you know, as the men are drinking and stuff, they naturally would get hot. And so I was freezing because they have you also in skimpy clothes because you're promoting sex and sex appeal and whatever. So I wasn't allowed to wear a jacket. Only the bartender was allowed to wear a jacket because she had earned it, because she had been there for X amount of years. Red flag number one. They taught you that if you were trying to serve somebody a drink, don't put your hand up here because that could be intimidating. Instead, do like a soft touch right here. And I was like, ugh. Red flag number two. Like, I can't think about the feminine ways of hand placement on your arm. Well, I'm just trying to get your beer order. And they had a high turnover rate. Like, not a lot of people stayed at this establishment.
I wonder why.
Right. I was one of them. And I remember just being so disgusted by the work environment and realizing that no amount of money or tips I brought home was going to be worth it, that I just left and never came back. And then it wasn't until weeks or months later that they like sent me a check. They were like, girl, you left without your check. And it wasn't much because I wasn't there long, but like the money was not even worth it. So had that check never come, I also would have been totally fine cutting my losses.
I totally agree. I've had situations like that too, where the quitting is empowering in like a lot of situations. If you quit just because like you're a lazy bum and you're like, oh, I don't feel like going to work today, and you're just like, I'm not going, that might be a character thing we need to work on. But when you quit for a positive reason, and positive reason meaning your boundaries, really, because it's like you're just really affirming your boundaries, where it's like, this doesn't make me feel good, this environment is having a negative impact on my body and my mind, like I want to leave. So that was like a boundary thing. I was young when I started quitting jobs.
Tell me more.
I've quit almost every job I've ever had, but with reason. Okay, I was a teenager when there was a CVS near me in my hometown, and they were paying the most out of all the retail and, you know, cashier jobs and stuff. At that point, maybe it was like $9 an hour, and everyone else was $7.25 or something like that. So I was like, oh snap, I got into CVS. I'm about to make bank. So honestly, it was either 1 or 2 shifts. The manager was so mean to me for no reason. And this is before I knew anything about maybe racism or even jealousy, or even I just didn't know why. But all I know is I didn't earn disrespect. I didn't do anything bad, but she would just roll her eyes, very snippy. She'd be like, okay, do the register. I'm like, okay. So I'll be behind the thing. And then she'd be like, why are you just standing there? Like, if there's no one at the register, go fix stuff in the aisles. I'm like, oh, okay, you didn't say that. And
right.
You literally never told me that I'm supposed to go in the aisles, fix things, and then like keep peeking my head and then run back to the register. No one told me that.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, chill. Like, don't say it like you're yelling at me. Just tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. At that point, there were cigarettes on the back of, like, behind the register, so people would come in and be like, oh, Newports, or oh, American Spirit. I don't smoke, and I don't know these brands, so here I am looking for the brands like this, right? And then so at one point, when somebody came up and asked for a brand, I went to the shelf, I'm looking, and then she's like, oh, it's right there, grabbed it, and I was like, okay. And then, apparently, they give out free matchbooks, or they did back then. And so the guy was like, oh, can I get a pack of matches? And I was like, sure. And I didn't know where they were. So I was like, whoever her name was, manager, hey, where are the matches? And apparently they were in a little thing right near me. She was like, oh, it's right there. She opened it and she kind of like threw it at me.
Oh, no.
I quit. I didn't work after that shift.
I don't blame you. That is
I'm like, why? Like, this is me. You're just being mean for no.
Was she much older than you?
I think so. I think maybe double my age at that point. I was a teenager.
I have experienced situations where I'm doing a job that is just a seasonal in the moment job, but maybe somebody else that is older is there longer than they wanted to be because they also had different goals and ambitions. And I think that sometimes the negativity of not being where they want to be in life, not justifying it at all, they start to spew to the people around them. Because I had a similar situation with a woman that was like a hairstylist, but then she also used to be a chef, and she also used to be in, like, she just had all this different history and these experiences and, you know, different places of employment. But she was one of the older stylists at the salon, and she wasn't like a senior level stylist. She was an entry level stylist like I was, surrounded by all these young kids. And we were having a heart to heart one day. I was talking to her because I was also at the same time still trying to like advance my modeling career, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I can make t-shirts, because again, like back then everybody was making t-shirts. And she was like, let me just stop you there. Who do you think you are? You think you're Beyonce or something? Do you think anybody's gonna buy a shirt with your face on it? And I was just like, well, no, I'm not. Michelle, you know, I didn't even know what to say in the moment. I didn't know how to defend myself. I also was still in disbelief that, like,
wait, why Michelle catching the strays?
Because I was like, I'm not gonna throw Kelly under the bus, but I'm like, you know, I mean, even if I'm not Beyonce, yeah, I do think somebody's gonna buy this shirt. Anyway, the point of the story is, like, why would you throw me under the bus like this and make me second guess my worth just because you mad that you at this entry level position? Like, I didn't make whatever choices you made that landed you here, but that still does not give you the right to talk down to me. And our friendship fizzled after that.
Oh, you were friends with this person?
I thought, until she started coming at me sideways. I did find out after the fact, like, she had no memory of it. Like, the next day, like, she just tried to, like, carry on as if that conversation never happened, which then made me question the events also, because I'm like, was I dreaming?
See, that's entry-level gaslighting right there.
And so I was just like, hey, I don't know if you remember the call that we had last night, but you said some really hurtful things. Come to find out, she was drunk. She didn't remember anything that she said, and she was so sad and apologetic about it, but by that time the damage was done, and even though we were work friends, we just didn't have enough history there to sustain what had happened in that moment.
That's sad.
That's why you should quit drinking.
I
drinking
know.
Is problematic for
I
a
was
lot of
about
people.
to say, that's the twofer in there. Quit the bad job and quit drinking.
But you know what else I have quit recently, and I still dabble back and forth with struggling, but I have quit saying yes to things that I am not truly passionate and excited about. I used to say yes to everything because, especially like when it came to work, it's like, all right, I don't really want to do this, but if I say yes, you never know what it could lead to. And sometimes, a lot of times, companies like take advantage of that. They know that you're saying yes, they know that they're offering you a terrible rate, but they know that you're excited because of enter name of said company. And so I recently had a company reach out, and the rate was kind of low, but I was like, you know what, it's not terrible, I don't have to go anywhere, it was user generated content. I was just going to return the products that I didn't need anyway when they gave me the gift card, and then I got to keep that in addition to whatever the rate was, and it was fine. They came back, they wanted to work together again. The rate was a little bit lower. I was upset. I tried to negotiate it. They said no. And I said fine, because they're a recurring client, so even though I'm not making that much on this individual job, if they keep coming back and coming back, the money is also going to add up, which is how I rationalized it, at least. I did 3 jobs with them, and by the time they circled back a 4th time, that 3rd one was probably one too many, but by the time they circled back a 4th time, which was just the other week, they dropped the rate again. So now this is the 4th time, 4th rate dropping. They offered me $625. Now this is for me and for my daughter. Divide that by 2. You still have to take off 20% because your agency gets a commission. That's not factoring the time, the gas to drive to their location, pick up the items, the time that you spend editing. Oh wait, if they don't like it, you're still spending another day re-editing or going back to the store, etc., for $625. And it's going to take like a full day's work, maybe 2, and that's not even my rate alone. And I was like, no. I was like, this is my starting rate, and if you can't honor this, please don't circle back at all.
I'm confused why they keep dropping the rate. Every time people come back, you like, today's price is not yesterday's price, or whatever that quote is. You know what I mean? Like, it should be higher every time.
Nope, every time they came back, it was like, well, maybe we can get her to do it for less. Maybe we can get her to do it for less.
See, so I know we're talking a lot about jobs and quitting jobs, but like I had to walk away from a job because somebody also didn't know my value and my worth and was like trying to squeeze so much extra work out of me. So I work in corporate events and consumer events in New York. And this one company, it was a small company, she did catering primarily, but sometimes it was just like regular events with not that much food. But I was the captain, and at that point, it was $50 an hour, which is a pretty good rate for not that hard of work. And I just had to delegate really to everyone else. But like, it's just a position where you have to be good with people, you have to be good with clients, you have to do walkthroughs at like Fendi and Moet Hennessy, and like you just have to know how to carry yourself and then checks and balances, problem solve, and all these things. So I was working multiple events per week, like I was making bank, like it was flexible with my acting and stuff, but my job, it was hourly, and I worked only the events. I wasn't a producer, I did not order party rentals, like it's not my full-time job whatsoever, and I worked with other companies too. But this one lady, she just, you give an inch and you take a mile type thing, like I eventually was like, I can't do this anymore. She, for example, somebody would call out and she would text me frantically, hey, do you know anyone who could be a busser or a sanitation captain, da-da-da? And this is hours before the event, right? I'm not getting paid to do staffing. Like, I'm not a staffing coordinator. I'm at the gym, I'm cleaning my apartment, I'm doing things, I'm not on the clock. So I was like, no, but let me know who what the final list is, like my final staff list is, so I can allocate on the floor accordingly. Because my job as the captain on the floor is to make sure everything runs smoothly. So if I'm down a person, not a problem. I'll just pull a server or whatever, and it's not that big of a deal. But since she retorts, I know you'll allocate with whoever's there. That wasn't my question, like stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. And mind you, I only answered her because she's always asking me for things off the clock and stuff. And I'm like, stop. And I'm like, no, I'm not involved in the headhunting or the picking of the staff or whatever. That's your job. If you want to pay me to be a staffing coordinator, that's fine. But then she did it again with transportation. She doesn't have a company vehicle, so at the end of the night, she will order like Uber XLs to put the chefs in and to put like some staff in if they want to go back to the kitchen or something. And one night, it was cold and we were all out in the elements. At the end of the night, like the team loads up the vehicles and send it away, but there wasn't enough space in the XL that she ordered. So I was like, hey, can you just send another car? And she's like, yeah, but I only have the one account, so we have to wait till it arrives at the destination. I was like, we're gonna wait 25 minutes out in the cold until you send. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna send a car from my personal account and just reimburse me on Venmo. She was like, okay, great, yeah. So that happened, and I sent everyone home because that's kind of crazy. Why would what? Then the next event happened. I got the email with all the details that she CC'd to everybody, like, hey guys, this is the run-up show, blah, blah, blah. And at the bottom she wrote, and at the end of the night, Faiven will be calling the cars and sending people home.
Will I?
Who? What now? So I'm like, see, that's crazy. And then you write it in an email for everyone else to see because you think I don't have the gumption to be like, actually, no, I'm not. But guess what? You picked the wrong one. Because I am not staffing coordinator, I'm not transportation coordinator. I'm only event captain. And I've worked with other companies where these are literally different jobs.
Right.
So if I'm making $50 an hour to run the event, give me $100 an hour and I will do the other jobs.
Right.
But of course she won't do that because she wants to keep all of her profits. And then when I'm on the job, liaising with the clients, like delegating, doing the thing, running around, like calling Apple Ice, like, hey, where's the ice? Like, we have to set up the bar, like all the things. She'd be like, hey, how's it going? Like, micromanaging. She'd be like, can you get some content while you're there? So half of her pop in Instagram is my videos and pictures, which is, again,
another job.
Another job. So I'm like, see, so I eventually was like filling my calendar with other companies that actually paid less, but did not give me a headache. And when I spoke to her about increasing the rate or having like, I don't know, monthly minimums or something in order for me to show up for her the way she wants me to, she's like, always the response is, I don't have any money, I don't have any money. Like, okay, cool. Well, then you don't have me.
Right,
like,
you can't afford me.
You can't afford me. Or let me just do the bare minimum, which is what is technically my job description, and not do you favors because this is work. It's not friendship. So that leads me to quiet quitting. Have you heard of quiet quitting?
I have heard of quiet quitting. I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, so quiet quitting, I know a lot of the corporate girlies do that, where it's like, you're just not checked in anymore at all. You're just there for the paycheck, the biweekly direct deposit. You just do exactly what your job description is, nothing more, nothing less. So they can't fire you because you're doing what you're supposed to do, but no more innovative ideas or any of that stuff. You save your energy for things you actually want to do. So I feel like by the end I was kind of quiet quitting, but only because I was taking advantage so much, and I was so nice up front, and I didn't realize I was being used until I was worn out. And I was like, oh no. And then when I bring it up, I'm still shut down when it comes to compensation. So I kind of was quiet quitting. And then I think she realized my answers to all of her inquiries were very short, very curt. And then she was like, do you even want to be on the events for, I don't know, whenever this was, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. And she threw out some dates. And I said, this is in a text message, I wrote, I'm good either way. I was careful with my response because if I said no, that would be truly quitting. But if she removes me, then I'm fired, and then you get unemployment. I don't play. So I said, I'm good either way. And in my head meeting,
you decide, you let me know.
You let me know. If I'm still on the event, which I confirmed with you already, I get my money, the end. If you take me off, I'm fired, then I'll just claim unemployment. Guess what happened? I got my free money. She removed me from the events.
Period.
So you could quit all you want, but quit for the right reasons and be smart about it. Don't shoot yourself in the foot, because then who gonna look stupid?
Right. So my take on quiet quitting is, like, I definitely understand the perspective of, you are out here working hard, giving your soul to a company that doesn't give a crap about your well-being or your mental health. I think like most recently with like the hurricanes, we've read these articles about companies that were like, no, you can't go home. And then finally, by the time they release these people, their lives are in danger, or their lives were taken because all the company cared about was the bottom line. And obviously, I don't support that. But then I think there's this other side of it where it's like these kids or these young kids or these teenagers having first-time jobs that are supposed to teach you these essential life skills as you traverse, like, just like the career field and, climb up the ladder. And you're like supposed to want to do your best, and you're supposed to want to just navigate that customer service experience. And like, the mindset is just different. Like, I have waited so many times to be serviced at, I'm not even going to name the establishment, but just like various places, and it's just like this teenager ever so slowly walking up to greet me, taking my order, like didn't care if they were there, if they weren't there. They clearly wanted to be somebody else. And it's just like, being on the receiving end of somebody that doesn't really care about their job, or they're just collecting a paycheck, sucks. And then it makes you feel like, am I turning into that like older grumpy person that's just like, well, let me talk to your manager. And then the manager's also like 22, so it's like, okay, what is happening here? Or like we have porch pirates, our neighborhood, we just get packages stolen.
That's what they're called?
Yeah, porch pirates.
Porch pirates?
Mm-hmm.
Why they gotta make everything sound trendy?
I don't know. But so like we have a sign that says, please ring the bell, like bare minimum, right? If you're not gonna follow any other instructions, please just ring the bell when you're dropping something off. Because why is a package getting stolen and I'm home? I've been home the whole time. They don't ring the bell. We'll ask them to place it in the recycling bin underneath the first instruction, please ring bell, then place in the recycling bin if we're not home. They don't do that. They put it there and then they walk away. It can be food. They put it there and they walk away. And I'm literally in the app hitting the option that says, I don't want to do the contactless delivery. I want you to put this in my hand. We live in the city. There are rats. Why would you just put this food down on the floor and walk away? And again, I'm home. And so I don't know if that still falls under the quiet quitting umbrella or people just not being good at their jobs, but it's like, I'm asking you for the bare minimum. I'm asking you to ring my bell and let me know that you dropped something off at my house. I am putting in the written instructions on your app. And you guys are just like launching packages at my door and like skipping off to your loo, and it drives me nuts. Customer service is not what it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that when I go into Walgreens and stuff, and everything is just behind in the glass cases.
But that's because everybody's stealing.
Everyone's stealing, but then it's like, then I'm checking myself out. I'm in Zara, okay? Zara in Soho, upstairs. They were like, oh, the line downstairs is long. You can just check out upstairs. I go upstairs. I gotta check myself out. I gotta take off the sensor myself. I'm like, I need to be getting paid $15 an hour if I am taking these sensors off and I'm doing the whole transaction and I'm getting my own bag. No one said hello. No one's helping me. This old lady was like, how do you know what, forget it. And she decided to go wait in the line because all that was too intimidating for her. And I was like, see, there's either bad customer service or no customer service.
I also like to be greeted when I walked into, like, I feel like that is the bare minimum, right?
In our day.
If you're working retail, if you're in the service industry or food or like whatever, like let the customer know that you see them, that you acknowledge them. I was at Auntie Anne's one time and the dude he was sitting on the counter. He didn't get off the counter. I was sitting there kind of like fake looking at the menu, like waiting for him to naturally, hey, how can I help you? So he doesn't say anything. I'm like fake looking at the menu and 5 minutes go by and then he goes, yeah, just so you know, we only got the pretzel, the pepperoni, with little pretzel dogs left. I was like, okay. From behind the counter that he's still sitting on. So if that is quiet quitting, where I'm just going to show up and collect this check, then maybe I hate quiet quitting.
Quiet quitting is you're doing enough so you can't get fired. But I feel like if like a higher up saw that guy sitting and not even greeting the customer, that's you not doing your job.
Right. Like, why you got your butt cheeks on the same counter that you about to roll my pretzels on?
Yeah. So that's worse than that. But job stuff aside, I mean, there's plenty of things you can quit.
Yeah, like relationships, for example.
Listen, you know I'm the dumper, not the dumpy.
Mm-hmm.
You can quit having these interactions with people, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendships, even if you need to distance yourself from like that one cousin that be just annoying you all the time. I quit. You know why? My mental health.
Absolutely. I think that sometimes relationships can be harder to quit. Number one, depending, like, are you guys married? Are there kids involved? Do you guys share assets? Those kind of things require you to put more thought into what's at stake. But if you're just like dating somebody and you're stuck waiting on potential, or I don't want to leave and now they get better for somebody else, like, cut your losses. You cannot wait. You know how much time you are going to waste sitting around waiting and hoping for the potential of who somebody could be?
I mean, last time I was here, I was telling Alex and Joe about this man I was seeing, and then here I am. I came right back to film, and then I was like, oh yeah, he not around no more. And Joe was like, how Sway? How? You was just talking about this man. I'm like, sir, things happen.
I also had to walk away. Who's the last relationship I walked away from? Before my husband, my relationship was very toxic. And I realized that for the person that I was seeing, that it was just kind of like all a game to them. Seeing how much they could push the envelope, seeing how much damage they could do or how much they would hurt me and then wiggle their way back into my life. So it was really on me to set that boundary, to be able to see the patterns that were happening and know, all right, he's gonna apologize. He's gonna try to buy you something or sweet talk his way out of this, and you have to be firm in your no. Like, you have to quit this person, and it might not feel good in the moment because they're not gonna own up to their behaviors or their actions, but you still have to look ahead enough and go, I'm quitting this now so that you do not do irreparable damage to my emotional and mental well-being in the future. And again, having a daughter, it empowered me in a way because I realized, like, at no point, you know, whether it was, you know, her father or, you know, just another relationship that I was navigating, being a mother made me realize that there is no relationship that I can stay in for her if it's not a relationship that I would want her to be in herself.
Relationships are always much harder to quit than jobs because of the emotional tie, obviously. Because, I mean, you could be emotionally tied to your job, but we need to talk about that. Your job is not your identity, ever. But yeah, it's just the push and pull sucks, but once you get out, like, I remember my on again, off again, will they, won't they, the one with the guy who just would text me paragraphs all the time, and I'm like, wow, this is exhausting.
He was great with words, though.
He was. I mean, then just keep writing, but don't, just don't bother me.
Right.
I use your words, like eye contact.
We need action. We need actionable steps.
Yeah, and I remember I made a mistake of, instead of just walking away and quitting, I was like, okay, we're either just gonna end this here, or I can give you space to, he didn't let me finish that sentence. I'll take space. Okay. That is an avoidance dream.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, I technically still have the girl on the hook, but I don't have to do anything and I can just disappear. But silly me. I was like, okay, space it is. Child, I didn't hear from that man for days and days and days. A couple weeks, I think, even. And I had to call him and let him know, sir, we broke up 9 days ago.
Oh.
You didn't know that because you weren't talking to me.
You were taking space.
But a couple days into the space, I made my decision, but you're not talking to me. So I thought I would let you know that your relationship with me is over. So I did let him know that because I quit. I woke up one day and I was like, I quit. I quit feeling how I was feeling. I quit feeling like, oh, this sucks. Like, it was around holiday times.
Which is also your birthday.
Birthday time, yeah, just like, oh, that feeling of like neglect and like not being cared for, it was so icky. And then when you realize, oh, I'm a full person on my own, like.
Absolutely.
If you go into a season confidently single, then you can frolic and have fun and visit your friends and visit your family and like do fun things. But if you are instead attached to somebody who sucks, who's just dragging you down, just think about, like, man, if I was just by myself right now, I could be having a good time.
Right.
I could be flying to LA, I could be like seeing the homies, but instead you're just rocking back and forth, sad and alone. So yeah, I quit that man so fast.
What about contracts or leases or anything on paper like that? Have you ever quit a contract?
I think when I have broken a lease before, but luckily the management companies, I think I did it maybe twice. In New York City, I've had like 5 apartments, but twice I would reach out to management because I want to get out of the lease, and they actually said, no problem, just find someone else to take it over. And then I just had to sign the lease surrender form. So
no fees or anything?
No, nothing.
Oh,
they just were like, bloop. They just like took my name off, put someone else's name on. And I was like, oh, this isn't as dramatic as they make it seem like in the movies.
Yeah.
Like, I had no problem.
Yeah. I have never quit a lease. I have quit and backed out of contracts. I was signed to a modeling agency and I was excited because I was like, oh great, I haven't had representation in this city before, this is going to be awesome. And then just like nothing. Time goes by and just nothing. And you know, it's not uncommon within the modeling industry to have seasons of waiting, but when you are like first onboarding new talent, like that should be like such an exciting season. You should be inquiring about my book. You should be promoting me on your social media. You should be letting clients know like, oh, look at this like new face we have. And they were just doing nothing. And the agencies work for you, and I think a lot of times, you know, as models or actors, or especially as new talent, you forget that because you're so excited and you're so eager and you're just, you know, hoping and praying, but they work for you. So when they weren't doing any of that in the beginning, and then I was waiting, and months went by, I was like, hey, it still feels like I have no representation in this city, so goodbye. And yeah.
Okay, on that note, was there a loophole or did you actually break it? Because I've had to do the same thing, but with acting, there's a 90-day window where you can decide to renege.
So I don't really know the details. I know I just made myself sound like real boss, but I actually went to my mother agent and I was like, yeah, do what you gotta do, get me out of that, just find me a different agent in that city because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So he handled that. Thank you.
Copy that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had one lady who I signed with for acting, and it was the first Black woman agent I've ever had in this whole industry, and I was so excited about that. And her son is a famous actor who's in a popular movie from the 90s and then a popular show in the 2000s. I don't want to name drop because I don't like his mama. But yes, she did nothing for me. She didn't submit me on anything. She submitted me to one job that was like a random music video that was low paying and that I could have found myself on a casting billboard. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, we signed for TV. So I'm like, what's happening right now? So I would check in with her, no response, a couple times via email. And I just pulled up one day to the office. I said, what's good? And she was like, oh, I've been submitting you. And she like, turned her laptop around real quick, but then I said, ciao. And then I went back home and then I looked at the contracts, and that's when I discovered that clause that within 90 days you can get out of it. So mm-hmm. I genuinely gave her the grace period of 90 days, mm-hmm. and like day 81 or something, I sent the email. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just get out of this. And
I'm chuckling at the submission for a music video because I also used to get submitted for stuff like that, and no. Like, I have no desire to be a video vixen. That's not the kind of work that I want to take on. I do understand, you know, hey, this might not be the job you want, but it's a job. But there are so many other types of smaller jobs that we can go for while we're waiting for that big one. I just know enough about myself now. For one, I don't have rhythm. Let's start with the bare facts. I don't need to be two-stepping in the back of anybody's music video. Yeah. I quit saying yes to those kinds of castings and offers.
I know, that's right. But I know you touched on it before where since you used to not say no and you used to not quit because
I said yes to horseback riding. I said yes to being a professional diver to where I would have to dive off of the side of this cliff for mineral water casting. I used to say yes to everything. I would have gotten myself killed.
But now you feel empowered, mm-hmm. now that you're embracing no, mm-hmm. and you're embracing quitting, mm-hmm. and you're trying to like get rid of that adage that coach put in your brain that once a quitter, always a quitter.
Correct.
But here's the thing, I'ma still quit. If it's best for me, I will quit. Mm-hmm. And I don't see any issue with that. I even have an agent now where the industry's just been kind of weird since the strike and whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm giving her grace. I haven't even reached out to her, but she responded that it's a weird time, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, all right, bet. I'm not going to try to back out of this contract. Because, yeah, it is weird when you get signed and it feels like you might as well not be signed because mm-hmm. no one's sending you on anything. Right. So it's like, But luckily, my other stuff is keeping me busy.
Question. Growing up, because, you know, kids are all over the place. They're still figuring out their interests and whatever. Did your parents make you see things through, whether it was like a sport or an after-school activity or if you said you going to Susie's party, you going, you know, like anything of that nature?
No. They let us explore. We did gymnastics, we did swimming, we did karate, we did dance, we did a lot of things. And then I think they kind of looked at us like, well, so they didn't let us, well, we didn't quit within a season because they paid for it.
Okay.
Like,
you wasting my money.
You ain't, girl, you better go to that class. So we would do it. And then if you could see if the child loves it or not. Like, I didn't like karate, so why are they gonna keep paying for me to be, you know, yellow belt and then green belt and red belt? Like, I didn't like it. Gymnastics, I think we started too late, and also we just weren't, I felt nothing.
Yeah.
My eyes lit up with theater, so I stayed in theater, but even the children's theater that I did, my mom actually made me quit because she was like, it was hard for her to watch the nepotism that was happening because the director also had a daughter that was in the cast, and she would give her daughter all the lead roles, and her daughter was not the best singer. And so I would get some good roles too, but it would be to the point where in the lobby after the shows, some other people's parents would come up to me and be like, "You're so great, I wish you'd get larger roles." And then my mom, as like the mom, would be like just sitting there mad seeing this girl singing off key and just getting all the scenes, and my mom just in the back of the house just like, man, you know, my daughter should be. And so she was like, I'm sorry, Faiven, I know you like it, I can't keep bringing you to this theater. So she made me quit. So I was actually bummed that I had to quit that theater because I made some friends, and it was in New Haven, and New Haven is a city, so it's more ethnic, and like most of my black friends were there because I was in a white town, going to a white school. So it's like it was a twofer. I got to be around people who looked like me, and I got to be the theater nerd that I am. So when my mom made me quit that, it was mostly like, oh man, it's this community I built here. But fast forward now as a grown up and knowing what nepotism looks like and feels like and seeing how unfair that treatment was. Same thing kind of happened with my brother in sports. He ended up doing well in track, but he tried, you know, basketball, football, things, but the football coach also had a son who was like the quarterback and whatever. So it's like just unfair to other kids. And I'm not a parent, but I can see how it would be very uncomfortable to sit idly by while your kid is not being treated well, or just unfair things happening and you have to just witness it for an entire season.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened with Lily?
No, our situations were a little bit different. So kids want to do things for various reasons. Sometimes it's just because their friend is doing it. Oh, I'm so passionate about ballet. Child, you have never once uttered a single word about ballet, but now that Scarlett is doing ballet, you want to do ballet. And then there's things that you peep as a parent. It's like, you can't do everything, and that's okay. If you didn't start early enough, if the funding, if the resources, if the time isn't there, if the passion isn't there, I'm not going to tell you that you can be a rocket scientist, because maybe that's not in the cards, you know. But you could be something else, you know. And so, like, I always try to be like realistic with Lily. And by the time that she tried to come talk to me about ballet, I was like, girl, that's just not going to happen. But there's so many other things that we can pick from and try to do. And so that brought us to like hip hop classes one day. And I didn't like it, because if you're going to do a hip hop class, then like I just need to teach you to be black. I needed to be, that's just what I needed to
They're
do.
Asian now.
She was white, blonde hair, blue eyes, predominantly white classmates, white town. And then because of the size of the classroom, we also couldn't go in there and see. So I can't see what you're teaching my kid. I just have to trust that you're teaching my kid something. The history of hip hop is very far removed from your history, and I can't even see what I'm investing in. And I was like, Lily, we're not doing this. And if you're really passionate about hip hop, then we're gonna find a different instructor in a different part of the city. But this ain't, I am not giving her my money. I read something not too long ago, I think it was like a tweet or something regarding like, you know, kids and quitting, and it stuck with me. And I was like, all right, if we're ever in a situation like that, then this is the direction I'm gonna take.
What's
and
the tea?
it said, never let your kids quit on an L. Like, if they want to quit, if they came to you after a win and they're still like, Mom, you know, yeah, we won, we did good, but soccer's just not my thing, well, now you guys can really have that conversation about them quitting. But when you open up the door and let them quit just because they lost the game, just because they didn't perform as well as they wanted to perform, now you open the door for a kid that wants to quit every time they lose or something that doesn't go their way. But if they win, if they did well, and they're still like, hey, I want to quit, then it's like, all right, you just really not into this, and that's okay.
Huh.
And I was like, I like that.
That's good to know. Yeah, I was taking language classes. Remember I did 3 months of Tigrinya? Mm-hmm. And I did really well. I did all the homework. I got straight A's. I learned a lot. But obviously you got to keep with it to keep it in your brain, and you have to use it, and you have to talk to people. But it was just so much work, and I was just doing so many other things that, like, the teacher hit me up like, hey, I saw you didn't enroll in the next semester. And I was like, yeah, I'm just too busy this fall, or whatever, whenever it was in the year. And that was it. So I quit, not on an L, did well, learned all the things, but it just, my soul just was not ready to commit to this. Like, learning a language at this big age is so difficult. And so when you have a lot of other things going on in your life and with your brain, and even acting and like learning other lines and stuff, just I was like, I don't have the capacity. It all comes back down to mental health. So it's good to know. I'm actually going to use that quote for myself. Am I quitting on an L?
My husband quit jiu-jitsu not too long after he signed up for jiu-jitsu. His intentions were great. We had signed our daughter up, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna learn it too, and then if she needs a sparring partner, you know, we can spar together. And when he got to the practices, something about just like wrestling and getting pinned down under sweaty barefoot men just wasn't for him, and he hated it. But I loved the reasoning and the intentions behind it. Lily definitely roasted him there after the fact. And after 2 years, we had to pull her too. And I did feel bad about that because she really enjoyed it. She was really good at it. But it was one of those things where, like, number one, it wasn't cheap because of the distance and the time and traffic. Like, it would always take us at least an hour to get there.
Oh, I went with you guys one day.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, girl, you've been around for a minute. Okay.
Yes, we were at jiu-jitsu, and then the little boy went.
What boy?
The niece.
Wow,
I was over
did.
there.
Okay.
I was over there.
And you came to a volleyball game?
Period.
Wow, look at you.
We friends in real life, y'all.
I know. So yeah, we had to stop going because I was like, all right, the amount of stress that it was causing Joe and I to get her there enough times a week to warrant the cost was pretty taxing, number one. And then in the 2 years that she was there, we just felt like they weren't giving her enough opportunities to like compete and elevate within the program. And it just kind of was like, all right, well, now what? We just keep giving you our money. She's had 2 matches in 2 years, and you guys aren't seeking out anything else to continue to challenge her. We're just paying to keep the lights on at this point, and it's too much. So me and Joe felt so much relief by quitting jiu-jitsu. Lily was devastated, but guess what? Now she's excited about volleyball, and we love it because it's through the school, and so the commute isn't in addition to. We are going to start doing clinics though, and really pouring into that because this is something that she can get a scholarship for. She can continue to do at the high school level, and it's indoors, so like I don't have to be, you know, sitting outside sweltering in the heat as she's kicking a soccer ball. And I kind of have an understanding of what's going on. Like, I don't know anything about basketball or football or most sports, but volleyball, I kind of, you know, I'm tracking.
Yeah, simple enough.
Yeah.
Well, so you kind of sound like my mama when she pulled me from that theater. Listen to this. I did my like Facebook rabbit hole and deep dive and Instagram. I'm the only kid from that theater cohort who ended up a professional actor.
Look at you.
Everyone else, that was just their childhood thing, and they moved on. So my mom pulled me, and here I am doing it professionally where they treat me right. And there's snacks everywhere.
Good job.
Snacks on snacks on snacks on set.
We want to hear from you. What's the last thing that you quit, and how do you feel about it?
Yes, do you have that feeling of empowerment and conviction and all the things like I feel when I quit every single thing? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe and follow us on TikTok and on Instagram. And stay tuned for next week's episode. Let's talk about it. A solo sit down with Alex